Okay, so today we'll be looking at rests. Now, okay, so rest is a period of silence in music. Okay, rest is a period of silence in music. Now, there will be different, and these periods they differ based on the value, similar to the notes. Okay, similar to our notes, they have 4 beats, they have 2 beats, uh, 1 beat, half beats, quarter beats. Rests also have such values as well, and they're actually equivalent. So we will look at that very soon. So we have whole rests, we have um, half rests, we have quarter rests. We have minim rests, we have semi-brief rests. Either way you want to look at them, but we're going to look at them as we go along. So notably, every music note has its corresponding rest symbol. Okay. Interestingly, also is the fact that the value or the beat of a music note is the same as that of its rest. Okay. For example, one crotchet note has 1 beat. Similarly, one crotchet rest has 1 beat of silence. Okay, we'll practically look at this later towards as we progress. Okay, so below are the rest symbols and their corresponding beats. Okay, so like I said earlier, semi-brief or whole rest is that 4 beats. Okay, and that has a 4 beat, so it's equivalent to a whole the value of the whole note. Okay, we have a minim rest, it's 2 beats, and that's the symbol. Crotchet rest that's a symbol. Quaver, that's a symbol. Semi quaver, we have like a flag, and then we have two dots at the top. And we have, so if you notice, there's similarities. If we're looking at quaver, look at the shape. If we come to a quaver here, we have that dot and we have that flag somewhere there. And we have a semi-quaver, we have the dot there, and we have 2 flags. Similarly for the rest. For the quaver, we have like almost like a stem, then we have that 1 dot there. And we have a semi-quiver and we have like 2 blobs over there. And for the demi-semi-quiver, we have the same, and we can go, we can continue. We have actually a 30 second beat. That would be last time I checked, it was a semi, hemi, demi, semi-quiver, but that's something we can have a look at. We can go and check and have a look and see what 1 in 32 beat rest, the name of a 1 in 32 beat rest. Okay. Alternatively, we can call that 30-second rest. Yes. Okay, so that's, and then we had our assignment. Okay, so we're going to go more into looking at more details into the rests. Okay, is there any questions so far? Any questions? I do have a question. Who can tell us what the rest, well, who knows the rest symbol for a brief? If you noticed when we started, the rest started from semi-brief. It didn't mention a brief. See, our rest starts from there, semi-brief, minim. What about the brief? Okay, like mentioned in our classes, most of the time in music, you will mostly see semi-briefs. Okay, you start from semi-briefs and then you go all the way down to demi semi-quavers or eighth notes. Okay, hardly once in a while you may find a brief. Okay, with that symbol. So there is a symbol for a brief, but occasionally not always we use that. But We do have that. Okay, so this is the symbol for a breathe. Okay, so that's the symbol over there. That right there. Okay, and that's its position on the staff. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines and 4 spaces, and the the breathe rest is at the bottom of the 4th line. Okay, and we're going to look at the positions of the other rests in relation to the staff just now. Okay, but we hardly use this. We hardly use a brief rest. I think certainly in more professional musicians definitely come across this, but for now that's quite in depth and we hardly cover that. Okay, any questions? All right. Okay, let's see what we have here. So, okay, so this is another slide I have here. Okay, I'm sharing on the wrong side. Let me share on this side. Screen number 3, share. Okay, so like we just said earlier, we just want to reiterate. We have rests, okay? We have a whole rest. This is the American name for these rests, a whole rest or a semi-breathe, and a half rest, 2 beats, and we up until the 30-second rest, okay? Rests are used to show periods of silence. There is an equivalent rest symbol for each note value, okay, which represents its length. How long are we going to rest for in a piece of music? Okay, and then a note represents a sound. A rest represents its absence or its silence. Okay, and there's an equivalent rest symbol for each, and that's what we can see here. Okay, now notice if I can maybe put a sketch here if I can find something. Okay. I was trying to find perhaps like a pen or something. Okay, I can actually use this one. Okay, so a pen. Okay, so now one way to easily identify, so this is what's this? This is a whole note, right? Whole rest, sorry. So that's a whole rest. This is a whole rest. Now, one easy way to easily recognize the symbol, right, is notice how what we want to emphasize now is how they are placed on the staff, okay, or on the stave, whichever. Yes, how they are placed on the stave, right? So notice the whole rest is placed at the bottom, just under the 4th line. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's there. And one way to remember, if you see this note, how will you remember? So just say, for example, you're walking on the 4th line on top, you're walking here, and there's a hole here, and there's a ditch, okay? So it's a hole, okay, like H-O-L-E, okay? It's a hole, so that you now can remember, okay, that's a whole rest. It's a whole rest, whole, okay? Now say, for example, now this is now a minim rest, and it's placed on top of the 3rd line. Okay, and if you notice from here, it looks like what? A hat. Looks like a hat. Okay, H-A-T. So if you see a symbol like this, you notice, okay, it looks like a hat. Someone's wearing a hat. And then you'll be like, okay, hat, half. Okay, hat and half almost the same, but it's a quick way to recognize, okay, this is a half rest. And then you have the symbol for a crotchet rest, which looks like this. Okay, and then we have the quaver rest, or the eighth rest, 1/8. And then that's how they're placed on the music. Okay. Um, okay. Let's continue. So this is, for example, how the rests and the notes can be placed on a stave. Okay. For example, both a quarter note and a quarter rest occupy the same amount of time. Okay. Remember, they are equivalent. Okay. There is an equivalent rest symbol for each note. They share the same value. Okay. So we have here, we see that that is, we're going to talk about this later on, about time signatures, and then we'll come back to this and we will clearly understand what this is. So if you notice, this is who can tell us what this is? Bolu, do you know what this note is?
No,
Oh,
I don't know.
okay. Sorry, just a minute. Okay, it seems chat, where's the chat? Okay, let me just find out. Okay, since she's disconnected. Okay, all right. Okay, so that is okay. Sister Subukazi, can you hear us now? Okay. Okay, so this note, praise. Okay, so praise, what note is this?
It's a crotchet.
It's a crotchet. Okay, so Bolu, we will quickly go back to our notes, and we're gonna stop share quickly, and we will go back to our notes we have here. Screen number 2. Okay. So we're talking about notes. So we have two, notes and rests, right? So there, we have a breve, we have a semi-breve, we have a minim. A breve or whole note, that's the symbol, and it has 4 beats, right? I will have a drop a table and then we will easily understand and see what they are without the text, okay? And we have a minim, we have that symbol, okay, and a crotchet. So if you notice, the crotchet and the minim have the same, almost the same symbol, but the crotchet is shaded with a black, shaded black. Okay, so, and notice the minim has 2 beats, the crotchet has 1 beat. We will discuss in further detail where this 2 and 1 beat come into place, and we'll have a look at that later on during the course. Okay, so now you see that, notice that symbol, that's the symbol we saw on, okay, it seems like I'm not sharing, sorry. Okay, sorry. Okay, so Bolu, there you go. So the crotchet, if you notice, that's the symbol we have there. That's what a crotchet is. That's the symbol. It's a crotchet, or it's a quarter note. Okay. we'll have a brief, a summarized table to show us what these notes are, and so at least we can easily understand. Okay, perhaps that will be our exercise, one of our exercises for today. Okay. All right. So let's quickly go back to the presentation here. Okay, so that is, so here, this is, if I can type, that would be great. Let me see. Erase, highlight. Okay, so what we will do now, this is, I'll just use this. This is a whole note. Okay, and that there is a minim, or alternatively, you can call it a half note, minim or half note. So these are notes, okay? All these are notes, okay? And these symbols there, these symbols we have, these are rests, okay? We'll listen to how these sound and what these rests are, the pauses and the sounds as we go along. Okay, sorry about the background noise. Um, so that's what we have, okay? All right, so we'll quickly continue. So this is, we have, like we mentioned, is a quarter, a crotchet, and remember the value. Okay, let's write down the values here. Okay, the values of each of these notes. So the value of a whole note is 4 beats. Okay, values in bracket beats. Okay, it's a bit squiggly here. So, and then the value of a half note or minim is 2. Okay, and this is a crotchet is 1. That's a crotchet. Okay, and this note is 1/2 because it's half. So if you notice, there's a relationship. So this is, you split that in 2, you have the value of 2. You split that into 2 again, half of a minim. You have a crotchet 1/2 of this. So you split them by 2, and that's the relationship. So that's 1/4. That's 1/8. That's 1/16. That one there. Okay. So these are the notes. Okay, so now when we come here, we notice that we have four crotchets in a bar. If you add all of them, you have four beats in this bar. So remember that the area bounded by this bar is called a measure or a bar. Okay. So, and then we have now that crotchet. We have a crotchet here, crotchet note, crotchet rest, crotchet note, crotchet rest, and we can add these two together, and it's perfect because they have the same values. And we will talk about this for signature, time to signature. Perhaps we should have talked about this at the beginning, but when we do this, we will revise this and we'll really understand. And we have a 2/4 here as well. These are crotchets, and then we have a rest there, and we need to make sure that all of this add up to 4. Okay, or add up, actually, sorry, add up to 2 because of because of the values we have here. So we'll look into that, and we will have some examples. We'll have examples. Sorry, this is actually 4. Nope, I'm wrong. 2, because that's 1, 1, so on total 2. So all of that, if we add all these note values together, we will have 2. Okay, and we'll talk about that later. Okay, so let's, in summary, we'll quickly have to go on the summary discard. Okay, so I'm going to open another presentation, So we'll just have a brief summary of all this, and we will, okay, let's see, share screen again. Okay, so in summary, this is what we're going to have a look at now. We're talking about musical notes and rests. We said that musical notes and rest have the same equivalent values. Okay, we're going to look at dotted notes as well and ties later on. Okay, so musical notes. Okay, so this is a test for us now. At least we can have a see what if we have been following. Bolu, can you, okay, praise, let's go with praise. Praise, can you tell us what this, this is a note, yes? This, tell us what note this is.
Is a breathe.
Okay, thank you very much. That is a breathe. Okay, the double whole note, an American name, or we have a breathe. Okay, all right. And this has 8-beat value. So remember, the semi-brief has 4. So since we're going higher, the relationship is like a 2. They double, or they half themselves. If you go down, you half it. If you go up, you you multiply, okay, by 2, and so it has 8 beats. Okay, Bolu, can you give us the name of this note?
A semi-brief.
Thank you very much. How many? Okay, okay, that's good. It's a whole note or a semi-brief. How many beats does this have? How many? What's the value of this note?
4 beats.
4 beats. Thank you very much.
4 beats.
Yes, that's good. Okay, that's great. It has 4 beats. All right. This is Bukazi. Can you help us with this one? What note is this?
It's a minim.
It's a minimum. Thank you very much. And how many? What's the value? How many beats does it have?
It has 2 beats.
2 beats. Thank you very much. Okay, that's a half note or a minim, and it has 2 beats. And so we notice that when we have two minims, because there are 2, and the value one minim, its value is 2, plus another minim, its value is 2. 2 plus 2 will give you 4. And remember, we have a whole note or a semi-brief, and its value is 4 beats. Okay. Yes, who will help us with this one? What's the name of this note? Bolu, can you help us? Can you tell us what the name of this note is? It's a crotchet. And how many beats does it have? What's the value?
1.
Are you sure? It's final answer.
Yeah.
That's great. That's true. So it's a quarter note or a crotchet. Okay, and it has 1 beat. Okay, and if you notice, 1 plus 1 will give 2, and the music note that has 2 beats is a minim. All right. Okay, and alternatively, when we have 4 crotchets, each having 1 beat, all of that will give us a whole note which has 4 beats. Okay, so if we want to, we can either interchange. If we are putting in our music stuff, we want to say, okay, we can either typify the sound of this. Actually will change. It will not be if we are to play this, we'll look at it now. If we are to play this, it will be dun, 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 right? But it's played in the exact same duration as we will place this whole note. So if it takes 4 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, to play these notes or crochet notes, it will take exactly the same second to play 4 seconds to play this. However, yes, we will play 4 sounds in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4. Dun, 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 dun. But in this case, we will play just one sound, dun, and that will last 4 seconds. While these two, 1, 2, 3, 4, will be 4 seconds. Okay, we'll look at that and we'll have a look when we're going to further in the class. Okay, so praise, what note is this?
A quiver.
This is a quaver, alternatively a quaver or an eighth note. Okay, it has its values half a beat. So half plus half is 1, which so 2 quavers will give us 1 crochet. Okay, now in music, there's different ways to put 2 eighth notes together. So remember, as we've seen, the eighth note has a stem and it has a flag, right? So another alternative of writing these notes, if they're together, instead of reasons, or, for this music sheet to look, not too clustered, sometimes we can leave like this. Sometimes they decide to join these 2 stems together. Okay, so when you see something like this in music standing on its own, you know that we have 2 quavers. Okay, we have 2 quavers. All right, so in this case, they just decided, okay, instead of putting them like this, we can just join them with, they call this a beam. Okay, that is called a beam. That right there is a beam. Okay, there, because they just joined both of them together. All right, okay, and we'll continue. So Sipokazi, what note is this? Oh, okay, seems she's offline. Okay, so this we know is a, Bolu, can you give a try?
A semiquaver.
You say a
Semiquaver.
semiquaver. Thank you very much. That's great. Semiquaver or a 16th note. Okay, 1/4 beats. And we know that 2 semiquavers will give us 1 quaver. Okay, and remember, we could write it like this on the music note, but then we normally put beams on it. So when we see two beams joining these 2 notes, 2 semi-quaver notes, then we know we have 2 semi-quaver notes and not 1. So you need to take note of that, because they have 2 stems or 2 flags. If we see this, we know that no, we have 2 semi-quavers, and we join them like this. Okay. And so if we have 4 semiquavers, 4 semiquavers will give us 1 note, because we have 1/4 times 4. Okay, 1/4 times 4 will give us 1. 1/4 is, that has 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, the beat value. All right. Okay. And we have hemi, semi, demi semiquaver. Okay, demi semi. I think hemi is a 64th note. Okay, 32nd note. 8 of these will give 8 32nd notes will give us a whole note. All right, and remember, we have that beaming effect. So we see 2 demi semiquavers can be written in that format. Okay, so if you noticed while explaining, we have like a relationship here where as we split them, the relationship between the music notes, we can easily say, okay, for me to have a whole note, someone tells you to say, okay, give me a whole note or a whole note equivalent using crotchets. And we know that, okay, that's one whole note. And as we split them, two minims give us a whole note, and four crotchets give us a whole note. So we need to have four. If we say, give me how many crotchet notes make a minim, then we know that it's two, because that has a value of one, that has a value of one. That's two because minim has a two. So that's that. So we've done that exercise already before. Okay, so just to reiterate this one as well. All right, musical rests. So this is an example I wanted to show us earlier. We have note values. That's the shape of our notes. And that's the shape of our rests. Okay, they have the same. When we see that, we have the same value. That's 4, 2, 1, 1.5, 1/4. Okay. Okay, so we're going to talk about dotted notes now. But before we go to dotted notes, I think we're clear with that. We're going to proceed with dotted notes. Okay, let's continue in the class. Okay, so we're going to talk about ties and dots. Okay, I'm going to share my screen now. Sorry about the noise in the background. I never anticipated this would be a problem. Hope it's not, can we all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so we're going to talk about ties and dots, right? So ties connect the note heads of two or more notes together, okay? They hold notes together, although the values of the notes remain the same. A tie lets you know that you should play or sing that note once and hold it for the total value of the two notes. Okay. Now, so basically what this means is if we have a tie, okay, is placed on notes of the same pitch. So for example, right there, these two notes, that note there and that note there are on the same pitch, and that would be a tie. Okay. That would be a tie because they're on the same note. So if we put a treble clef here, right? If we put a treble clef here, this symbol here will be F. These two values will be L. These three actually will be F. But if we're trying to put a slow on these ones, then this will be a tie, not a slow, because they're on the same F note, two notes. But if you have two notes, but on a different pitch, so for example, this one here, this is on what? This is on G. Oh no, this is on E, sorry. This is if we have a treble clef, for example, or if you say the first line. This note is on the first line, this note is on the first space. So now we call this, and we want to slow them. We call that a slow. Okay, slow. We slow them because we call this a slow because we have two different notes, two different pitches. Okay, so when we're going to sing this, we're not going to sing it as dun, dun. We're going to sing it. Okay, no, sorry, we're not going to sing it as dun, dun. We're going to sing it as da. Okay, there's a difference. So we're joining them together. So we're not going to have a break, sort of a break in between. Let's ignore the dotted note there. So say, for example, we just have these two notes and ignoring that. So if we just have two crotchet notes, dun, dun. If there's no slow here, we'll have dun, dun. But if we have a slow, we'll have da, 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 something like that. So it'll be slowed. But we're going to look at examples using MuseScore to give us a more detailed understanding. Okay, so a slow connects notes of different pitches, and a tie connects notes of the same. Okay, they hold notes although the value and the notes remain the same. Okay, dots, if you have a dot there, okay, dots add half the value of the note to its duration. Okay, similarly, dots add half the value of the rest. So we can have a dotted rest and have a dotted note. Okay, and if you see a dot in front here of any note, the dot adds half the value of this note to it. So say, for example, for in this case, this is a crotchet, right? A crotchet has one beat. A quarter note or a crotchet has one beat, right? And then we find out that there's a dot in front of the crotchet. So we know that if we see a dot, we know that it adds half the value of this crotchet or whatever note it is. But now we're dealing with a crotchet, so it will add half the value of the crotchet. So the crotchet is one beat, and when we need to add half, so we say 1 divided by 2, so it'll be 1.5 beats. So this note here is 1.5 beats. Okay, and this note here, there's no dot in front, so we still have it as a 1/8 beat. No, I'm wrong. 1/2, sorry. Okay, the value of the first note above is 1. Okay, the value of this first note is 1.5, 1.5. The same with the rest. So if we have a whole rest, no, yes, this is a whole rest. Remember, it's like a hole. Walking along there and you fall in there, that's a hole. So it's a whole rest. It's a semi-brief rest. And if we have a dotted, that means semi-brief is 4. And we add half of that, we have 6. So in total, this symbol here, a dotted whole note or a dotted semi-brief, has a value of 6 because of this dot. Okay. Remember, the dot adds half of the value of whatever rest or note we are considering. Okay, class activity. So we're going to do this class activity in a couple of minutes. In a tabular form, draw all the notes and rest, state their values when dotted. So we don't need to draw them, but we're going to state their values. Okay, so we're going to switch over to this brief presentation. Let's see. Okay, so we're going to look at dotted notes. Okay, just to recap, dotted notes are notes with a small dot written after them. Okay, the value of a note can be increased by placing a dot in front of it. Okay, sorry, dot after it. The value of a note can be increased. Okay, and how much are we going to increase it by? By half. Okay, always if we see a dot, we know that, okay, what's the value of this note divided by 2 and add it to that note, to the value of that note. Okay, the value of a dot in music is to increase the length of its bearing note by half of its original value. All right, so that's what we have here, dotted notes. We have a dotted whole note. So basically that would be 4 notes, which is that plus 2 more. So we have a 4 plus 2. So remember that's 4, and that note value has 2. Okay. Dotted half note, we have that. Okay. So it's the value of the original note plus half of 2, which is 1. And we know a crotchet has 1 beat. This is equal to that. Okay. And it continues to the 8th note. Okay. The value of this is half. Okay. and we're going to add half to that. So we have that plus 1 over, I think that's half of that. So the half of 2, that's going to be, I think, 3 over 4. Okay, 3 over 4 beats. Okay, so a dot increases the length of a note by half its value. Dotted whole note is 6. Dotted half note is 3 beats. Dotted 1 over 4 notes is 1.5 beat, and a dotted eighth note is 3 over 4. Okay, before we give away the class work, let us do a quick exercise. I am going to stop sharing. We'll quickly do this exercise. Let's do this. We are going to find out, we're all going to do this exercise together. And let's see, close that. Okay. Okay, so let's take a few minutes to do this exercise. Okay. We have, let's say, how many minutes? 2 minutes to do this. So what are the values for these notes? Okay, so we have a whole rest, we have a dotted whole rest, we have a minim, dotted minim, crotchet, dotted crotchet, a quaver, dotted quaver. So let's give us 5 minutes is too much. 2 minutes. Starting now. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, are we set? Okay, so we'll start with Bolu. How many beats does the whole note have?
4.
4. Okay, that's great. Okay. Praise, how many beats does the minim have?
2.
I know this is very quite easy, right? Okay. And the crotchet? Bolu?
1.
1. Okay. And then the last one is the half beat. Okay. Praise, how many beats does the whole note have?
6.
6. Okay. Bolu, what about the dotted minim?
3.
3. That's good. Okay. Then let's go with the dotted semiquaver. Dotted quaver, sorry. Who can tell us how many beats that has?
Is it an 8th?
That's an 8th, yes. 8th note, yes. How many beats does a dotted 8th note have? That's this one here. Oh, I don't think you can see my screen. That's this one here. Who knows? Who can give us the answer? Is this one a tough one? Yes. Yep. Who knows the answer? So that is the value of, what's the value of a 8th note or quaver?
For which one?
For the quarter note, this one, that one. For the quaver, dotted quaver, sorry, dotted quaver, how many beats does it have?
1.
No. Praise, do you know?
Uh-huh.
It's a challenging one. Okay, so let's quickly do that. Do the math. So remember, no, not a pointer. Screen options, pen. Okay, so we're talking about this one, dotted quaver, right? A quaver, or what's the value of a quaver? Okay, a value of a quaver or 8th note is 1/2, right? We already have it here actually, all right. And remember, we're going to add half of this value to that. Okay, so what's half of half? So half 1/2 divided by 1/2. Okay, that will give us 1/4, right? So now we're going to add plus. So we're going to add that. So the grand total will be 1/2 plus 1/4. Okay. Yes. So back to maths days. Very interesting. That will give 2 plus 1. 3/4. Okay. Is that fine? All good. Praise Bolu.
Yeah.
Great. So we're going to have that 3/4 beats. And if we do the same thing, we have 1.5 for that one. Okay. Okay, so let's continue. Dotted notes and the rest equivalent. So with a whole dotted note, whole dotted, half dotted, the same value we've just calculated there, or we've just gotten, is the same for the rest. So a dotted whole rest has 6 beats, a dotted half rest has 3 beats, and we go on like that. Okay. What about a dotted, double dotted note? And then that's an assignment for us to figure out. All right. So we're talking about ties. We've looked at ties. A tie is a curved line that connects two notes, two note heads of the same pitch. Okay, like we've said, of the same pitch. We use a tie. So if you see two notes on the same key note or on the same key, for example, letter F, and has a line, a curved line joining them, we know that's a tie. A tie note is played as a single note, but with the same duration of the sum, with the duration of the sum of the individual notes in the tie. Okay, we'll look at that practically now, actually. So ties are different from slurs. While ties connect notes of the same pitch or on the same line or space, like we saw earlier, and are played as one note, a slur connects two or more notes of different pitches, okay, and are to be played distinctly but as seamless as possible. Okay, so we're going to have a look at that. So that's the difference. Okay, same notes that's tied. Okay, we have some of that there. So that's there. Okay, and then we have that's slow. So these notes are different. So we have a slow. That's a slow. Okay, so I think that's everyone understands that. Okay, so we're going to quickly go into something more practical, and we will have a look at that just now. Okay, I'll stop my sharing my screen. Just a minute. Okay, can we all hear me?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. I'm going to share my screen. Close. Okay. Let's see. All right, needed to put that on. I think I was silent. Okay, can we hear me?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, so we're going to quickly go through what we have looked at. Um, okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. Delete. Okay. So what we have looked at is we talked about the whole notes, the semi-briefs, and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say new. Okay. There. Okay. Okay. So we have that is a whole note. That's a whole note, and it takes 4 beats. And remember, we said if we have crotchet notes, so I don't know why that changed. If I have crotchet notes 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, it's equivalent to that. Okay, and what I mentioned earlier is nope. What's happening there? Good, that's fine. Okay, so what I mentioned is they have the same value, right? But they sound differently. So if I'm to play this, okay, okay, so that if that's just one note, it sounds one note, but the duration in terms of value, it stays the same. But then these have they have different sounds. They on each note you have the same sound, but the same value is the same. The duration is the same as a whole note. So that's the relationships you have with these songs. So you hear more sounds with these ones, but in this case you just have one sound, but it holds. You see, it sticks on this until it's finished the beat, and then it continues the rest. If you get that illustration. And so we have that same relationship happens for other keys and other notes. So mentioned, remember, if we want, say, an equivalent of a of yeah, it's the same thing. Equivalent of one whole note is 4 of this. Okay, an equivalent of one whole note can be 3 crotchets and 2 quavers, things like that. So if you put, let's do that. Let's put a quaver in here and say that we want to have a quaver over there and there. Okay, so we will have the same. Okay, we're going to play that quickly. There. Did you notice that? So it has this has is all together, the sum of this is 4 and some of that is 4, but then no, if we're playing them on the keyboard, this will just be 1. See, so if I'm to count 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4 1, okay, let's do that. Okay, actually need to reduce the tempo. 1 2 3 4, okay, this is 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. So if you notice, this was completed. So I'm talking about the duration now. This was completed in 4 beats. This as well. Even if we have all these notes, they're going to be still completed in 4 beats. And we're going to talk about this time signature later on. Okay, but I'm going to briefly explain to you what this means. Okay, now we have a 4 4 here. This 4 on top this when you see the symbols here in front of sheet music, it's called a time signature. It talks about the rhythm and the duration of the song. Okay, the 4 on top tells you that we have 4 beats in a bar. Okay, we have 4 beats in a bar, right? But then the one at the bottom tells you which note carries 1 beat. Okay, which note carries 1 beat. So in this case, we notice that this, so which note carries 1 beat? So meaning this 4 gives us the crotchet 4. If we had a 3 at the bottom here, if we had say like a 2, that means we're noticing that it's the minim that carries 1 beat. But in this case, we have a 4, and we know that the what what we know that it's a 4, meaning like it's a crotchet. Because how will I put this in the right way? So it's a 1/4. The way how I look at it is it's a 1/4. So I'll say it's 1/4 beats. So 1/4 is a crotchet, and I'll say 4 crotchets as a top, 4 beats, 4 crotchets will make 1 of that. Okay, we're going to look at it not to confuse us. We're going to look at it in the next class because I think our time is run out. But we're just going to practically demonstrate what we have just learned today. Okay, so something we'll notice later is the same duration that this whole note would takes to complete is the same duration that this notes here will take. Okay, we'll just quickly do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's one. Okay. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So we're going to look at that later on. So that's that. The different sounds. And then notice now that if I delete this, it puts a rest for us. Okay. And notice that this is this is a quaver rest. Okay. It's trying to complete the beat, the number, the value in here, because all these values we need to have 4, the value of 4 in each of these bars. Like we mentioned here, 4 needs to be in this bar. So that has a value of 4. If we calculate all this, that's 1 beat, that's a half beat, that's a half beat, that's a 1 beat, 1 beat. We notice everything is 4. Okay. So if we delete a note, if we delete this note, it's going to replace, if it is a crotchet note, it's going to, if we delete it, it needs to replace it, it needs to complete this measure. So that when we count all the note values here, we're going to have a total of 4. So when we delete this one, it's going to replace it with a crotchet rest. Okay, so let's hear how this sounds. I want to make this quite slow for us so that it's easy to double click. There you go. Thank you very much. Okay, I can reduce that to say 60. Hope it's not too slow. Okay, let's try that. Did you notice that? Okay, so the duration of the rest it was recognized as well. So, and you notice that the rest, there was no sound. Okay, if we put a value there, if we put that there, so for example, n, put that there, for example, okay, and then escape. I'm going to play this again. Okay, something happened. There you go. Okay, I'm going to play that again. I think it's too slow. Let's just leave it at 80. So this is a tempo, basically how fast are you singing, how slow are you singing, and things like that. So we will look at all this later. Okay, so okay, so that's rest. Like we mentioned, rests, the periods of silence in the music, and they do have the duration. So the duration of this is exactly the same as the duration of that. But duration of this is different from that duration. So there's a timing and the value as well. So that's what we're talking about. Okay, I hope I'm not too fast, and I hope we are all following. And yes, so we can have all sorts of, we have the different kinds of um, rests. Let's see. Depending on the note you're looking at, it will automatically change to the rest you're applying. So you can have a 30-second note, you know, in the beat. So if we have that, for example, if we say, let's put this guy here, and we sort of perhaps, do you see that? So we're adding some information there. So that's the beam we're talking about, okay? That's the beaming we're talking about. So I think this is, that's a bit different. But yeah, so we can play this and hear how it sounds. You see, if you notice that the low, the more, how will I put it, as you go down, as you split the values into, say, 1/8, 1/32, 1/16, it's quicker. The sound is quicker, but we're going to look at that later. Okay, so let's see. Dots and ties. Let's talk about dots and ties quickly. And one thing we're going to, it's very interesting, is the sound that we're going to get out of that. Okay, I think let's remove all these. Let's see. Nope. There you go. Okay, so let's quickly go through. Let's construct some notes here. We'll make it easy. 1, 2, thank you. 3, 4, okay. And we will have something like this, something like this, something like this. You see that? For some reason, it gave us a tie, sorry. But that's that. We want that. We don't want that. We don't. See, that's a dot. See there? That's a dotted rest. So for it to complete this whole thing, it had to add that dot. But for now, we are looking at something more N. Let's look at N. Okay, we need to delete that. We need to delete that. There you go. Let's just fill that up in 1, 2. Okay. So let's play around with that. That's what? That's an accidental right there. We're flattening that note. Okay. Can we still hear this? Can you still hear me and hear the sound? Hello, are we still there?
Yes.
Yes, we are. Okay, that's good. Okay, so we're going to demonstrate the slurs and the ties. Okay, so tie. Let's see where we can find that. Nope, nope, nope. Print properties now. Okay. Let's add something in. No, it's adding it there. Okay, I think I know what to do. Escape. So we click on that and do that. Okay. So to add a tie, okay, we click on the one note and we click that. It's going to add to the next one. Okay. If we're going to add, let's add a tie to that to the next. I hope it's going to work. Okay, it seems like not going to happen. Let's do that, and we're going to move it there and move. I think I know. Something is to there. Okay, if it wants to do that, then we have no problem. Very interesting. Perhaps what I'm looking for is, that looks complicated. Okay, perhaps I cannot do a slow. Let's try this one. Okay, so if we notice there, like we mentioned in our discussion, the ties, a tie lets you know that you should play or sing that one note and hold it for the total duration of the two. So in this case, we're not going to sound that note. We're going to sing this one, and then it's just going to, we sing it once, and it's going to carry the note of that as well. So we're not going to, the way it does this, da, da, it's not going to do that. For this case, it's going to be da, okay, da, and continues even when it goes here, and then just jumps there. So we'll quickly have a look at that. So there, dun, 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 dun. Okay, so that's that. I think it's added a slow here. I'm trying to figure out how we can get this slow. Just a minute, let me find out something. Perhaps, okay. We can quickly check. How to, okay, I think we might get something soon. Note and press S to begin the slow section. S again to end the slow. Okay. All right, what we can do, we can add a note there. Note. Okay, and then S. There you go. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so for this case, what we're looking for, delete that. We don't need that. So Okay, if I want to make a slow, what we're going to do is note and then S. There you go. But I don't know why it is showing that. Anyway, let's do that. Fine. Okay, so we're going to delete this one. We don't need. Can I delete it? Interesting. But anyways, this would help us. Okay, that one might not. Okay, so let's look at this slow, right? So there, one. Okay, we'll just observe that slow. Okay, so normally it didn't do much of the effect that I expected, but so in one breath, normally we normally da, da. So that's it. So we don't normally cut it. We don't take a breath when we are singing that note. So sometimes we join it together as we're singing. Okay, so that's the differences between the slow. So this is a slow because it joins two different notes, and that is a tie because it joins the same note. All right. Okay, so I think we've gone quite good today. Are there any questions?
No.
No questions. Okay. Do we understand everything? Any questions?
Now I'll have to go through the recording again because I missed some parts. I have to.
Yes. Sorry, yeah, I noticed that. Okay, no problem. All right. Okay, so that's that. We'll go through the recordings, and the next time when we meet again, we will discuss time signatures. We'll go straight into time signatures. I think we'll go quickly into time signatures. Just a minute. Okay. All right. So next time we will look at time signatures. Write down the notes under this as indicated. So we know this. We know how to write notes. We know how to identify our notes. So that's what we have. For example, in this exercise, we know what these are. These are two quavers, and when we see that these are branches, these are four quavers, and things like that. Remember accidentals, when we see that it's a sharp, when we see a flat symbol, we detect that. We've done dots and ties. I think that should be well understood. So introduction to time signature. This is what we will deal with in the next class. It will be quite interesting. I love this part, and it's more counting and observing now the beats, the value of the notes that we're talking about. Okay, so a whole note has 4 beats. What does that mean? How does it apply in the music? So that's what we will have a look at. Okay. If there are no questions, I think we are done for today. Okay, thank you very much for coming and making time. So yeah. Any questions? One more time, if there are questions. Okay. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Okay, have a blessed week. Bolu praise. Have a blessed week, okay? All right. Okay, bye-bye.